All right, close the door.
Oh, more than a handful of people.
Huh?
I see more people than I'm usually used to.
Yeah, hello. Next door. Yeah. So hello, good afternoon. This is working. This is Buenos Aires. It's the Xrblock meeting. I'm Dan Romascano.
I'm Sheila Schubert.
And we are co-chairing this meeting, which is, of course, an IETF meeting. So note well, everybody signed for it at the registration. This is a list of pointers mainly. If you have any unclarity, please approach us or Sierra directors with any kind of declarations, disclosures, questions, and clarities. Blue sheets are circulating, one blue sheet, probably enough. For the room, we have one note taker, and which is Ronnie, and we'll back up. If anybody's on Jabber, yes, Jonathan, excellent, so we have a Jabber. Excellent. Right. So this is the agenda. We'll do a short status update. I believe that for items numbers 3 and 4, well, already we'll cover this in the chair slides, and we'll do a call for consensus, but probably there is not much to discuss, although you never know. We'll spend a few minutes, and Rachel will guide us with an update on where we are with.
You're a little quiet.
Am I? So let me try to speak. Okay. On item number 5, we'll have a short update on where we are with the loss concealment metrics reporting stuff, and we'll discuss next steps or next step. Okay, progress. Any bashing of the agenda? Sorry. Anybody plans to bash on the agenda, plans to do something else, different order? No? Taking no as an answer. Work in progress. Want to do this?
Sure. So Rachel's going to go over the video LC draft, right? That's the one, yeah, okay. Regarding the IPR issues. And the 2 drafts that Varun is progressing, we're going to be going over that briefly today, but they are, if you don't have any issues today, then we'll just move them over to ESG processing. So I'll write up the proto write-up for the RTC Web, RTC PXR metrics, and then Ronnie, Dan is going to do the other one. So good. Next. Yeah, I think that's, and right, bus gap discard, we adopted as a work group draft. Dan reviewed the draft, sent
we got PMDA and SDP reviews.
Right, okay. And then it's ready for IETF last call.
So,
yes, it's no
so I believe that the question at this point, there are no open issues after the working group last call. The question is if anybody in the room sees any problem with forwarding this to the ISG for consideration as standard track. That's standard track. Okay, so I see nobody in the room. We'll ask the question on the list as well. And we'll also ask on the list another time if there are any kind of IPR considerations that we should know about. We learn to be preemptive on this, and we'll try to be. And then if the consensus is confirmed on the list, we'll submit to the ISG.
So regarding RTC Web, RTCP XR metric draft, we sent a liaison statement to W3C just to inform W3C that this is happening, this is going on, and that we were going through last call. It was merely to just inform W3C. And I think we didn't receive any feedback on the list. And as far as I know, there were no issues raised on the WTC side either. Do you want to?
One comment, anything?
Should I say something?
Or the other side.
Harald is stepping to the microphone.
Okay.
So speaking with my chair hat on, I have a couple of hats in this ring, including the author, including my co-author with Varun on the stats document. But this is the chair hat of the W2C working group, WebRTC, which is the home of the stats document. We were not quite sure whether any response was really needed. We looked at the liaison statement and said, "Okay, we're informed. Thank you." So
Right. So it was for information, but we were kind of also assuming that if something is terribly wrong, you will say it.
yeah. So speaking with my quite personal contributor hat on, it's a bit confusing to me whether you intended to set up a mechanism an IANA mechanism for that you expected to control the W3C document, or whether it was parallel to the W3C document. The latter could be a little confusing.
Okay, Varun, do you want to address this? I can answer, but so my take, and now I'm speaking also as a contributor because I'm a co-author of the document. So basically, the document quite explicitly refers to the W3C stats registry. It was at that point in time. Now it's a work item. I know, and we changed the, but it actually says that. So we are looking at the stats that the WCC considers important. If you have RTCP-XR deployed on your endpoint or whatever entities are gateways or whatever entities are running on the WebRTC flow, then you can use it, and this is a way you can use it in order to support that.
Yes, the point was why do you have an IANA registry in it? I mean, we have you already have all the Xrblock registered in other documents, and the stats document is its own registry. So why is there an IANA registry in here?
The IANA registry was not created for, yeah. Varun.
I can try to answer some of that. I think the original idea was that the WebRTC stats document has literals or has metrics defined in it, or defines metrics that would be used by the stats document. And I think the idea within this working group was, well, we have the metrics, but we don't have the metric names, so maybe we should just register the metric names. And I think that's how the premise of the IANA registry came up.
Yeah, I'm kind of unsure if it has any benefit. Either we get the same names in the stats document eventually, and it has no added benefit, or we get conflicting names, in which case we have a problem. So I'm not sure in which case having the registry would be a benefit over not having the registry.
Alyssa Cooper. So if you do it that way, then in the future, when you want to add a metric, what's the process?
Go to the W2C and follow the W2C process.
You have to update that document. It's like a document process. I'm just asking.
At the moment, W2C seems to be fond of doing it that way, yes. So having document updates instead of registries. It's been a lot of discussion about it, and that's where W2C currently is.
So that's actually the fundamental difference is the process that you use to do an update. And obviously with IANA, you have a registration policy, and you don't need to spin a whole new document to get a new metric.
Yeah, so I think when we had this discussion about 2 or 3 IETFs ago, and I think we added the registry much later to the document, and I think the premise was to create a registry in case the W3C ever needs to know which metrics are defined where, they would know where to look it up. I think that was the general premise. Now, I think the discussion that Harold's bringing up is that if that's a good premise or not. So I'm hoping there's some feedback.
So, Harold, are you suggesting that we not create the registry, and then so they have the draft list out all the metrics that are recommended for WebRTC, and then if you want to add anything new that comes out of this working group, we'll inform W3C that it is a recommended metric that it should be added to the stats draft in W3C.
Yes, I think so. That
Okay.
would clearly make the W3C document normative and not create a parallel existence. So this document would then be recommendations from the IETF to the W3C, and since their authors are kind of overlapping, I think the recommendations would be likely to be accepted.
And we would add a section on how to add extra metrics in the draft.
Yeah, basically say go read the stats document and follow the procedures there.
So, Dan Ramashkano, again speaking as a contributor, one of the reasons I believe that by the time we were talking, it was not clear whether was the status of or the type of approach that WCC is taking, because at some point it was just a wiki page of some kind. So I believe that the decision to make it a document was taken kind of in between the IETF decision and now.
Yes, I think that's roughly correct.
So probably the liaison helped. The liaison actually helped.
Yeah, so Alyssa Cooper. So, I mean, there's a question here, right, which is if the thought about how you do this in the W3C is kind of in flux, then that means, I mean, you sort of know right now if you want to get a new metric in the future, approximately what you would have to do. But maybe in the future that will change again, and who knows what you would have to do. Whereas we have, I think, fairly strong consensus of like, what does it mean to have a specification required with expert review, and you know what you have to do, and that's unlikely to change, right? So I don't know. I'm not saying that I have any opinion. I'm just trying to help people reason about it a little bit. But it does seem to me like there's a little bit more certainty in terms of knowing what you would need to do to get a new metric in there if you have an IANA registry, because the policy for how you get one is very well defined and stable.
Well, that's exactly the argument I used in order to have an IANA registry on in the few places we need it, and I lost the argument every time in the W3C. So if IETF defines something for a W3C spec and W3C doesn't follow it, it creates trouble.
Actually, we can. There is a way to avoid this. So basically, we can write in the instructions. So I believe that this will be expert review, or the policy will be expert review. And the specific instructions to the expert actually will be to keep the document in sync with the metrics that are being defined by W3C.
I'm not sure if I
Yeah,
followed.
that effectively says that all the IANA does is to keep an extract of the W3C, whatever it is.
Right. But it also preempts a future change in policy that Alisa was referring to. So if tomorrow the W3C changes against the procedure to something that is not really normative reference or normative referenceable, still the IANA expert should know what to do.
Well, if so, you again you have a conflict. Do you want to set up a conflict?
No, the conflict is not. Conflict is trying to avoid the formalities, not trying to while keeping instructed the expert to be aligned on the content.
But that's quite an expanded role for an expert than what we normally have, because normally experts receive requests based on documents that are being processed or people who want to get things registered. And it sounds like what you're talking about is the expert just proactively pays attention all the time to what's going on with the W3C spec and pulls things into the registry, which I don't know if that's definitely not what experts normally do, right? Experts are normally reactive. They're not proactive. And also, if that's what's going to be the result, then what's the point?
I don't know. I am an expert to a couple of things, like, for example, the interface table entries, IF entries. And what we usually do is actually, of course, we are not dealing only with one organization, but what we are dealing with multiple organizations. But what we really do is actually we check that there is a sound definition in the other organizations' documents that kind of covers minimal information that we know is required for interfaces.
Yeah, so do you actually get a request to register something, or you just do that proactively?
Oh yeah.
No, but so okay. So
no,
what
no,
I
we
thought,
we get requests.
right, but I thought what you were suggesting is that the expert wouldn't actually receive any requests. They're just supposed to, read the W3C document every week and keep them in sync.
Yeah, because because I was imagining that the expert, probably the primary expert, would be somebody like Varun, who is anyway involved with the work in W3C, and yeah, not forever. Well, okay, I'm not kind of stuck on this, and we lost Varun.
Should we take a hum on this? I don't know.
What
So I mean, I think it's going to come down to like if you want to have two reference point, right? So one in W3C and the IANA registry, because I mean we can't really expect W3C to mandate W3C to reference our registry. So it's going to be either we're going to have two, potentially having two, or it's going to be just a recommendation draft suggesting if in future we're going to be adding new extension or new metrics in the recommendation will inform W3C. I think that's going to be the two. I don't see any other option here, really. So I mean, in theory, I guess if this collaboration doesn't work, and we decide to create a registry because we feel like that's the only way, we can always update the draft and create a registry. Then I'm assuming.
So I think the simple version of the hum is either keep the registry section in a document or delete the registry section in a document.
Right. Okay. Good idea. Okay. Hum? Oh, everybody's gonna just everybody can turn up the volume a little bit, and then we'll be okay. It's a small.
So I'm loud.
Hum loud. That's right. Yeah.
Keep the registry.
So I'm gonna ask for two hums. Keeping the registry and removing the registry. So please.
How that is described in the WTC?
So keeping the registry.
Keeping the registry means WCC and IETF will need to collaborate to sync the recommended metrics, right? And removing the registry means the draft is going to be all about recommending what metrics WCC should use and then should include in the stats document.
So how will it be complete with WTC?
We'll send out a liaison statement, I guess.
I mean, the document's going to get updated, and yeah, we could send an email, like,
Okay, all right, cool.
which I was told is what we should have done this time anyway. The liaison was not happy that we sent a liaison statement, so.
Oh, okay, all right, thank you. All right,
I
so,
don't need it. Maybe you should repeat. Varun, did you hear all the way, or?
No, I got
because, we
booted.
are actually-
I got booted off at some point. I can't see the slides now, but
So did you hear the HAM proposal?
no, I didn't even hear. No, what hum?
okay, so I'm gonna call for two options. The first one is gonna be removing the registry, and then the other one is keeping the registry. You got that,
Okay.
Varun?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Maybe we should do a show of hands because we have.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, let's do show of hands. That's it's not with the IETF way, but yes. Okay. Please raise your hand if you want to keep the registry in the draft now. Okay, one hand.
I think that you have to clarify a bit to understand
The implication.
the implication.
Well, I think I should.
I'm not sure.
Do people understand the implication of removing the registry, IANA registry from this draft? Does anyone not understand? Can you raise your hands? Yeah, I think people are good. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Okay.
Are we gonna take it home with Jonathan instead?
Okay, so it was a.
It was just I saw one hand raised. So please raise your hands if you feel like we should just remove the registry and make this draft solely a recommendation to WCC. Okay, so yeah. All right. So removing the registry. Varun, can you update the draft and?
Yeah, I can remove the registry. I was curious why one person who wanted the registry, what their concern was to keep the registry.
Rachel, did you have any particular concern about removing the registry? Okay, no, it's fine.
Okay.
Sympathizing with the editor.
All right, so we'll get the authors to update the draft accordingly, and
So
I'll send the prototype.
I'm curious about what the recommendation should be like. Should we just list at the end of the section the metrics?
I mean, the draft itself lays out what recommended, right? So
Yeah,
I mean,
so-
yeah, we can make a list at the end saying, yeah.
So just
And
remove
the
the INR
document-
registration and the registry process. That's all, right?
Right.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's easy to do.
And make sure that the reference to the W3C
Stats document.
stats document is normative.
Okay, I'll do that.
Right, great. Next, you want to just go to the next slide?
Ron, even just to clarify, so if someone would want to change, to add some new,
So we'll add that on we'll add a section on the draft
how to
in
do
terms
that?
of, yeah,
Go to
go to WCC. That's going to be the recommendation.
Go to
That's gonna be the
WTC,
guidance,
not
yeah.
update this document or not write a document here, just go.
Okay, no, it's not mine actually. For me, forget slides.
You going to be presenting it? Rachel, you know.
Okay, so I'm going to briefly introduce the situation of this draft and the discussion in the list. Okay, this draft has go to the went to the ISG evaluation in September last year. No, September. I think it's November. Yeah. And after that, IPR disclosure from our company, Huawei, has sent to the draft and during the ISG evaluation. First of all, I apologize for the trouble that my company made to this draft. I really was not aware of this draft before. The truth is that the thing that one of my colleagues may propose some content to me, and I think it's okay maybe to in there, and I didn't think of to ask him to about the IPR issue. So it's kind of my fault to lead in this situation. After that, a lot of discussions being initiated in the mailing list. For example, to clarify the IPR, if the IPR is related, is applicable to the draft, or how do you verify it? And I think Chair has made a call to that. I think in the end, the rough consensus is to follow the suggestion of Mo to remove some the example text from the draft and withdraw the IPR. I have updated the new version a week ago and removed the relevant text. And my company have confirmed to is willing to withdraw this draft, the IPR disclosure afterward. I think they have already sent a withdrawal request to IETF. IETF action this I think so, but I'm not sure if it's right process to withdraw the IPR. So, maybe I'll ask for AD's help with that. So, next, please.
So, just a question here. So they send a message to IETF action.
Yes.
Did they copy the other director?
Editor, yeah, copy to me. Yeah, but I haven't copied to AD and Chair, I think.
Because
we can work it out. There's an IPR alias that you can just send a mail and tell them you want to withdraw.
Okay, so
I told Rachel I would find it, and I just found it now.
So,
yes.
With
Yes.
exact,
no problem.
exact address.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Next, please. So these changes from the last version, just remove the relevant text. And however, Alan is not happy with the situation that we caused to this draft, and he's not willing to be the co-author of the draft anymore. So I have to remove him from the author list as he requested. Yes, please. So the next step, we are requested to continue to progress this draft after withdrawing the IPR, and I'll pay more attention to the future work to avoid such situation that caused here. So, yeah.
So, actually, about the first bullet, observation is that actually right now the the internal draft is in the hands of the ISG. So basically, the ISG owns the decision about what to do next. So.
But it's already been through ISG evaluation. I'm just holding a discuss on it for this. So as soon as it gets withdrawn, then I'll approve it for publication.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Comments, discussions.
So, Stefan Wenger, I just want to remark that the IETF and the implementer community after this withdrawal is actually in a worse situation than they were before. And it's not your fault. It's absolutely not your fault because you have, as you stated before, and I have to assume that's correct, no personal disclosure obligation. No one else has had one who is here. So that IPR declaration that Wawa has made was voluntary, right? They just made it, and it proposed terms that were better than the terms we have at the moment. At the moment, no, after this hypothetical or forthcoming removal of the IPR disclosure, Huawei is under no obligation to license patents they may still have on this draft under reasonable and non-discriminatory terms. Whereas with this particular statement on file, they are. So keep that in mind when you ask this type of clarifications in the future. I'm not addressing you, Rachel. I'm addressing the gang here, and I wish Alan were here and were listening to that. Maybe he is. The other thing is, as a general remark, also, it's a good idea to have a printout of that statement in your file if you are worried about IPR, generally speaking, while it still exists. Thank you.
Alyssa Cooper. So we don't really need to have a general discussion about IPR and the IETF here, but just like to respond to that one point, it's not obvious to me that that position makes a whole lot of sense, because if you take that to its logical conclusion, that means that we're all in the worst case scenario with most of the drafts that get published without any IPR disclosures. And the best thing for everybody to do is like file all kinds of spurious disclosures on every draft, and that would improve the situation. So I don't think it's really the case that you are necessarily in a worse situation now than you were before. It depends on your own personal evaluation of the claim and its applicability to this draft. And again, like, nobody made anybody change their mind. Everybody is allowed to their independent opinion about this. So just take that in as part of your consideration.
Michael Romalo, Cisco Systems. Just an observation. I noticed the email that Alan had sent, and I see he's no longer listed as author. However, I presume that he had significant input or comments to the document, might be worthy of a mention in the acknowledgement section, if he would welcome that. And I presume that the ISG would not block by such an assertion of his name. So just a comment, suggestion.
Yeah, that's a fair comment indeed. Even by contributing to the discussion about the IPR, he made a significant contribution, and I am assuming that he also made other contributions to the current text. So can you please ask him if he's comfortable with being included in the acknowledgement? Sorry? No. So we have, and if we don't have, we can put an acknowledgement section which says thanks to the following people who contributed to this, and just ask Alan if he's okay, because the point has been made, and I believe it's a fair point. The point has been made in the meeting that he was a significant contributor to the document, even if not an author. But is he comfortable with being thanked for the contribution? And he may say no, he may say yes.
Yeah, I think that makes sense to me.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, and this kind of brings us to our next steps discussion. Right now, we have no proposal on the table for new work. We entertained the discussion back four IETF sessions, IETF 91. And the discussion concluded with also we are at that point in time as optimistic as we are today, that by next time everything will be progressed and we will not need to have a meeting. Assuming there is new work, there is new work, we'll entertain it. Assuming that there is no new work, the proposal was to keep the working group in a dormant or semi-dormant state, meaning we don't conclude the working group. We leave, of course, the mail list open for any discussions, new proposals, clarifications, erratas, and we have an open group because we are kind of estimating that the need for new metrics because of new applications actually may arise in the future, and we don't want to go through the overhead of chartering or rechartering a new working group. That was a consensus like 4 meetings ago. The chairs discusses with the area director, and we tend to go this way, but it's a time to say if there is anything anybody thinks that we need to do something else.
Ronnie, Evan, I think we probably will need to look at the whole work of the old AVT working group, how to continue, because I mean the reason we created this working group because we had all this stack of Xrblock's document. I think there was 10 or 12 documents that AVT didn't have time to go over, but maybe if we try to do restructure or something, we can put it in one of a new working group together with other works. It depends how we figure the work is being done.
Right, but that's already a dispatch problem. Almost. I don't know.
It's a dispatch, it's a structure.
Right.
Right, yeah. So I think when we talked about this before, it's basically like, it's sort of what you get with a working group is you get chairs as opposed to, not having one. And these fine people seemed willing to be in a dormant state of a working group. So it just seemed like it was not an
If
issue.
all we are asked to do is to sleep,
Like
then
nothing. Yeah,
we
basically. But yeah, if there's at the point at which AVT is talking about being done or something, then not done, but slow, we could talk about it again. But it's really no skin off of anybody's back was kind of the conclusion last time.
Hi, John. Strictly as a matter of principle, I regard the idea of dormant working groups as a bad one. Finishing work should be a cause for celebration, shutting down and making ready for the next one.
So I made that argument last time, and people seem to think that given the nature of the working group, it is likely that new metrics will arise. So in this case, why would you have to go through the chartering process again just to standardize a new block, one block? That's fine. I mean, again, I was arguing last time that we should close the group, so I'm totally ambivalent.
John. Yes, Jonathan, thanks. I mean, the other, thing is that, if Xrblocks weren't its own working group, it would be, and I think fall into the scope of AVTX because it's an extension to the RTP protocol. So, I mean, not that I, not that I particularly need to have a zillion Xrblocks dropped on me, but I don't think there are going to be a zillion Xrblocks. So.
I don't even. That seems reasonable to do dormant. I think in terms of just the management of that if you have a document to review, you want to have some time in the meeting, then probably what we can do is just have it with one of the other AVT work groups in the same time slot. In order, if you don't like this meeting. For example, in AVT core, we said that we probably will want just 1 hour in the next meeting because we don't see any more document currently. So, and like here, that we don't have, it's sometimes you don't even need the whole hour, then we can look at having just to do this at the same time slot and make, that will be better.
So I'll comment first as an individual. This is Ben commenting first as an individual, and then second as the irresponsible AD in the room. As an individual, I kind of agree with Harold, and for a slightly different reason. It's been my experience that dormant or working groups that don't have a lot of activity, people tend to forget about, and then if activity happens, so you're not paying attention. So it's actually often hard to get your constituency to notice if someone drops, say, a new metric. You may find a whole lot of crickets. And then as the irresponsible AD, I had a conversation with Magnus on a similar subject at the end of AVD Core this morning. And his suggestion, which I tend to agree with, is let's just sit maybe for a cycle and see where things are, because right now AVD Core is looking really quiet and Xrblock is looking really quiet. And it seems like only AVTX is got clearly things to do. So we might want to rethink the current structure, but it probably makes sense to make sure that it looks like things are going to stay stable for a while and not suddenly change on us.
So you're suggesting maybe we wait for like 2 IETFs and then see if nothing comes up, we'll reach out IETX and include Xrblock.
My proposal was nowhere that specific.
And I know that, but that's.
But it was maybe go dormant for a little while, but revisit this in Berlin or something.
Okay, makes sense.
Relaying for the room, but by the Varun says that because he's a presenter, apparently he can't join the commenting queue.
Oh.
So, but anyway, so first, Colin Perkins says, as long as RTP is an actively developed protocol, we need a home for new XR blocks, new payload formats. We need to keep Xrblock, remove the work into the scope of AVTX, and similarly with payload. And then Varun's comments is, wait for RMCAT to request report blocks or SVC or simulcast XR blocks. But he says, I'm not opposed to merging it with AVTX.
Okay, so probably we are anyway. It will probably take 2-3 months. So probably by Berlin, we'll still have the documents in ISG reviews or to document ISG review one or the other. So I believe that revisiting this discussion by the end of the year makes sense. So by IETF 97, probably, and until then we go dormant.
Sounds good. I was going to say I don't think the group needs to meet to make that decision.
No,
so.
we don't need to meet, of course. It's absolutely a discussion that needs to happen at the level of the area directors, ISG, sure.
Okay, that's it.
Okay, any other business? This may have been our last meeting for a while. So,
Maybe the last.
I don't know. Okay, adios. Where is the blue sheet? And a few people actually stepped in late, so please Dali sign the blue sheet. Thank you. Thanks, Varun. Good night.
It was a pleasure.
It was.
I guess we'll still be exchanging emails. Seeing you at IT.
Yep.
Oh, no. That was different.
Yeah, that is not.